If everybody could please rise. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we're ready for that roll call.
Okay, Parkside Borough attendance roll call. Kimberly Roman. Here. Shirley Purcival.
Here.
Michael Costigan.
Here.
Scott Sidlow.
Here.
Peter Amesco.
Here.
Perry Sweigart.
Here.
Mr. Roda.
Here.
Doug Bull.
Here.
Anna Guy.
Here.
Robert Powers.
Here.
Thomas Murray.
Here.
And Nick Capobianco.
Here.
Our treasurer is not here. She is on vacation.
All right. I'll accept the motion to approve the minutes for the January meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of accepting the minutes for the January council meeting?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, pass. We are going to have to approve the February minutes at the next meeting, so that's going to hold off until next month. Ms. Stamis, any correspondence?
I do have the tax person's report. February 20th, 2022 through March 8th, 2022. Good evening, Treasurer. We have received a total of $122,514.66. There is $80,889.47 in revenue deposited from February 20th, 2022 to March 8th, 2022. That's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Roman, or Mayor Roman, Mayor's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Crimes reported in February, there were 6 crimes. 3 theft, 1 identity theft, and 2 assaults. Calls for service were 100. The most prevalent was suspicious person, 7, medical emergency 3, assist other agencies 15, and domestic 3. Accidents are 1, traffic detail 28, motor vehicle stops 18, traffic citations 7, and warnings 3. That's it.
All right, thank you. Oh, before I forget, if you do have your cell phones, please turn off the ringers. Put them on vibrate, silent, if you would, please. And is there anybody here that is taping the meeting that is not with the borough? Who's taping? All right, thank you. At this time, we'll have call to citizens for agenda-related items only. Okay, seeing none, moving on. President's report. Just want to remind council, if you haven't already done so, please remember to turn in the ethics forms. Those are due May 1st. So just a reminder on that. I also would like to thank Ms. Haynes for her time as our deputy tax collector over the last 2 months. So looking at the tax collector's report, obviously we've done good so far. Other than that, I really don't have much more to report. So we will move on. Oh, Ms. Purcival.
Mr. President, with all due respect, I know numerous members of council and our professional staff have emailed you during the past month. We're not getting any response, and I'd like to know how we can have a better communication system going.
I'll have to sit down and we can have a conversation to figure that out.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay. Finance report, Mr. Bull.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to make a motion to accept to pay the bills.
Second. All those in favor for motion to pay the bills?
Question on the motion?
Question?
I don't have a copy of the treasurer's report.
Nor do I.
That's why we didn't make a motion for accepting the treasurer's report.
Well, we're gonna pay the bills. I'd like to see them in black and white, what we've spent money on last month.
I absolutely agree with you. It was not forthcoming. So I would table the motion to accept the treasurer's report, expecting one for next month. Nothing's come through the office that had any irregularities so far as signing for checks and things of that nature. So it's a much more in the weeds view as far as that, but we haven't had anything that was anomalous last month. But it is slightly disappointing.
My understanding is the checks are not being signed in a timely manner.
I certainly wouldn't dispute it, but I live 3 blocks away, and every time that I've been asked to come and sign checks, and I stop in on basically Mondays and sign checks, and the borough secretary has absolutely communicated with me. There was one check that had an importance to get, signed and sent out, and I signed it within 15 minutes.
I mean, I might have missed a day, but I've been trying to come in on Thursdays and Mondays to sign before the pickups.
Okay. Understood.
I mean, if I missed a day,
Okay. And again, I will continue to send out email or text messages to you to come in and sign checks.
And that is moving, it won't be long, we'll have the borough secretary up and running to be the second signer or third signer as far as that, so that'll smooth some things out. Last month, we did have a couple overpayments that I didn't sign it. There's no reason to triple pay a PICO bill. So I don't know if that's where that came from, but.
I would ask the solicitor, is it appropriate for the borough secretary to be a signer on a checking account?
You don't need to, those are sensitive mics.
All right, you're fine. It's fine. It's not inappropriate for her to be a signer.
Good.
And I do recall, wasn't Miss Higgins?
She was.
Okay.
Yeah, for many years it was Mr. Pisani and Mrs. Higgins, and then we went straight off of the report that we had every month. So, with that, I'll report general progress for the finance
Well,
report.
we have a motion, so,
I don't have.
well, no, you made a motion to pay the bills.
That's been seconded.
And it was seconded.
I second it.
All those in favor to approve the payment of the bills?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, so moved. Mr. Bull, anything else for the finance report?
We'll report general progress. There has been some transitional, I don't want to call them hiccups, but when you start moving a large budget and many moving pieces and missing many different directions, but things are getting taken care of well. The borough secretary is doing a fantastic job helping us out, and we're getting to the right place with the transition of so many positions, and with that general progress. I'd like to move over to the open space report. We do have a project, an Eagle Scout project that's nearing completion of the approval phase, which would be a tree identification, planting, and actually a nice interface to the walking trail, which hopefully in the next month or so will be moving towards the project phase. So just giving you guys a heads up on that one. And Super Bowl Sunday, I went to Lancaster and took a municipal specialist arborist exam. So that came back positive. So I have a municipal arborist specialist on staff to take care of trees and as far as that. So I don't know if it'll help us get grants and things of that nature, but it's hopefully it helps the borough a little bit.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I wasn't saying it for that reason, but thank you. And with that, the last thing is if I can get some help from somebody to get the sign for recycling replaced on the back of the maintenance shop. Made a few phone calls, I've had a few things like that, but if anybody knows anybody or can do something like that, it's at least 7 years old, and it's not a good reflection of the borough and how we work. So if I could get a hand with that, it would be fantastic. And with that, I'll report general progress.
Thank you, Mr. Bull. Mr. Costigan, Police Public Safety.
Thank you, Mr. President. For police and public safety, the chief has raise a couple of issues that we wanted to have discussed by the council. First is we have a real shortage of part-time officers, and if you may or may not know, most of our officers are part-time. So the chief is having a hard time finding qualified part-time officers. So he has requested the council that we look into hiring 2 additional full-time officers. Now, from my understanding, in the solicitor, maybe you can explain this. But if you have three full-time officers, then you need a civil service commission to hire additional officers. So that's just something for everybody to consider. But I'll turn it over to the chief, and he can explain a little bit more of why he's raising this request.
Okay. We've been running into a huge problem with hiring additional part-time personnel, and we've lost some part-timers over the course of the last year or so. So when I first started here in the beginning of 2020, there were 12 total complement, including myself and Officer McEwen, who is full-time, okay? Right now we're down to 2, 4, 6, 7 part-time officers. And we are having a great deal of difficulty finding good quality people that want to be part-time police officers. I've been through numerous applications. I've interviewed several people. We hired one who was sworn in last month. He is in training right now. School's out, whether he will make it through and be an asset to the borough. Hopefully that happens. We were very fortunate about 2 months ago to get one of our part-timers back that left mid-year last year for a full-time job with Boeing. And he has finally settled into that job. I reached out to him and he was interested in coming back, so he is back on the rolls. I've counted him in the 7. We had a great candidate that we hired. He was a former officer up in Brookhaven. He was with us from last August until this past Monday. He turned in his resignation because he is moving up closer to where he lives in Bucks County. He has a job up there. So we're just struggling. We're not getting the response. We had an ad in the paper back in the fall. We got absolutely no response out of it. I met with some of the council members back then. It was suggested we do an Indeed posting, which we did. The Indeed posting, my computer was blowing up with candidates, okay? None of them, I take that back, 1 or 2 of them were bona fide candidates. The rest of them were security guards. They did not have any qualifications whatsoever. We can't hire anybody and send them to the police academy. They already have to come to us with the police academy under their belt. Okay, we just don't have the resources to hire somebody and send them to the police academy. So these folks that are security guards that may dream of a police job, even a part-time police job, we can't hire them. And that was the lion's share. 98% of the responses I got were from security guards. So that didn't work out. Officer Redding left us the end of December. Officer McNeil left us mid-year last year for another job elsewhere. The candidates that I have interviewed in the last 30 to 45 days, I'm just not getting a warm and fuzzy feeling about. Either complete lack of experience, which if they're a good candidate, we'll invest the time and effort. If they're not, it's not worth our effort to get them to where they need to be. Another one is job shopping. He's been in 3 or 4 police departments in the county. I got a big question mark about that. Why does he keep moving? So there are the problems that we're running into. Hiring additional full-time officers will certainly ease the burden. It doesn't fix it completely, but it does ease the burden. If anybody has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Mr. President, may I?
Yes.
We've explored this possibility many times before. The problem with a full-time officer, even if you only have one full-time officer, not only do you have to contribute to their pension fund through the MMO, we already have one officer pensioned out, and we have 2 officers on disability through that pension. And as everybody knows through our budget last year, what our MMO this year is going to cost. The average cost for one police officer is over $110,000. How do I equate that to the salary, uniforms, pension? And if you look at the contract, we supply all their benefits, and they are top shelf benefits. Can this borough afford to put on another full-time officer? We just increased taxes last year for this year, and also the trash fee. I'm not so sure that we can afford to do that this coming year or this year. It's a large chunk, and if you're looking at 2, I don't know where we get the money.
I think it's a good point. It certainly is going to incur costs. I would say, and I think, Chief, you said that there were 4 shifts in February that we didn't have covered and we needed Brookhaven to cover. Is that?
We had 4 shifts last weekend that we couldn't cover, that Brookhaven had to cover for us.
So my question would be, if we can't cover the shifts we have now, we can't sustain that. So, we have to either hire additional officers, and the chief has said that finding part-time officers is very difficult. I don't know what else we could do.
Is that an accurate figure? A burden police officer is $100 or so thousand a year. Is that your calculation as well, or is that?
I'd have to look at that, Scott. I'm not 100% sure. I wouldn't argue with Shirley's numbers. If we're hiring from our current staff, uniform's a uniform, whether it's on a part-timer or a full-timer. So some of those costs are there, whether it's a part-time officer or a full-time officer. Certainly benefits, okay. Pension, they are, definitely something that would cost more for a full-time employee than a part-time employee who has no benefits. All right. If we are fortunate and hire somebody from our existing pool of part-timers that already has benefits from another source, we save some money. But there's no guarantee that it stays that way. We know that. Officer McEwen was hired that way, and he has since come on to the borough's insurance. So, again, an additional cost.
Can I suggest, since we have a police committee, that we do a feasibility study rather than throw this around? That's what the committee's there for. Mike, you're the chairperson. Doug, I think you're on it with myself.
Yeah.
We can start a feasibility study and see if we can crunch the numbers and see if we can help our town out.
Can I ask, what's the downside of Brookhaven, somebody from Brookhaven having to cover? I'm assuming we're pulling from their pool, or do we pay them overtime?
Well, the short downside is that if we ask Brookhaven to cover for us, they're covering the calls that we get.
Okay.
They are not patrolling in the Borough of Parkside. If they get a call, they'll answer the call. But you're not going to find them driving up and down the streets of Parkside. They're merely handling the calls that we would normally get. So that's the big downside. not having a car that's riding through the borough streets.
Okay, thank you.
This might be a topic for an executive session or things like that, as far as sensitive information will be discussed over insurance and things of that nature, and public security.
I think having the police committee, look at the numbers, look at what we have available, especially in conjunction with the finance, would be a good.
It's a good start.
Good place to start. Anything else, Mr. Costigan, for police public safety?
Yes, the chief also sent a memo to the council about the youth aid panel and joining with Brookhaven, who is already existing in the program. And again, the chief can speak a little bit more to this, but basically it's a program for, I guess, teenagers who maybe find themselves involved in the criminal justice system, and it's a organization that works with those individuals and mentors them and guides them so that they don't continue down that path. But Chief, if you wanted to say anything about that.
Sure. This is a program that's been in the county for 20 or more years, probably more years than that. And at one time, Parkside participated. At some point in the past, it kind of went away. I don't know when that was. The director of the program is a gentleman by the name of Paul Summers. It's under the umbrella of the Center for Resolutions, which is a program in the county to help people in conflict. All right, so one of the things that they do is the youth aid program, and the youth aid program is for first-time offenders. They get one bite of the apple and only one. They can't come back. And there's a panel of citizens that sit on the youth aid panel. Right now, there's a panel that's empowered in Brookhaven. We would ask for volunteers from our community to sit on that panel with the folks from Brookhaven. And in the event that we get a juvenile offender, first-time offender, for a minor offense that might give him a record at a young age, 14, 15, 16 years old, we give him the opportunity to go before the youth aid panel. The youth aid panel convenes. We would have an officer assigned to the program. He would be the one that reaches out to the family, gets the family to buy in to the program, directs them to the next youth aid panel meeting where the individual has to go. The panel meets with the person, the youth that's in trouble. They discuss the issues with the individual. They have some kind of, I don't want to say punishment, that's not the right word, but something that youth has to do to show that he understands what happened, why he is where he is, how he can correct that. If he follows through and does all of the steps that they've put in place and comes back to them and shows them, here's what I've done, and is remorseful for what he did, then they wipe the record clean. Okay, so what would happen would be, I'm on patrol, I find a juvenile who's doing some criminal mischief. Okay, I arrest the individual, I write out a citation. That citation would normally go from us to the court, all right, and be processed through the court. What we would do in the case of a youth aid candidate, we would hold that citation. It would not go to the court. When it's done, when we get word from the youth aid panel that the youth has completed the program and he's good to go, then we take the citation, rip it up, it goes away. If he fails to complete the program, then the citation goes to court and he faces the court and the criminal justice system. So it's a way to keep first-time offenders out of the criminal justice system and give them a fair shake. Anybody's entitled to make a mistake one time. And, you know, by doing that, we give them their one bite of the apple. Hopefully, they, you know, they don't return and do it again. If they do, then they're in the criminal justice system. So that's the long and short of it.
Chief, is there any cost associated with that for participation in the youth aid panel?
No. The youth aid panel is volunteers. So if council agrees that it's a program we should go forward with, then what we would do would be to advertise in the community to get a couple of volunteers to sit on the panel. I've already spoken to Chief Weiss in Brookhaven. He is absolutely on board with it. And again, the gentleman that runs the program in media, Paul Summers, he has spoken to Chief Weiss. Everybody's in agreement that this would work. So if we had some volunteers step up to the plate and say, yes, I'd be more than happy to do that, they would go to media for training. It's a 2 or 3 night training program in media. Once they're done the training and they understand the ins and outs of the program, how it works, they would be assigned to the Brookhaven panel, and you know, we could go for a year and not have anybody that we're sending to the panel. But it's nice to have that piece of the puzzle, so to speak, to help somebody out.
Mr. President, I was on one of the very first panels in Brookhaven when it first started decades ago, and it's a very worthwhile process, not only for the juvenile, but for the parents, to give them the relief that this child is being directed into another path versus a court system. It's very worthwhile as a panel member.
I'll make that motion to move forward with the youth aid panel.
I second that.
Okay.
All right, so now I get to play Sunshine Act police. So as we know, this was not on the agenda for tonight. And so first we need to have a motion to add it to the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right.
All those in favor of adding the motion to approve participation in the youth aid panel
Motion to the agenda.
to the agenda? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay.
So it's now added to the agenda. I'll work with the borough secretary to make sure that we have an amended agenda that we can provide to the community tomorrow.
Okay.
Since this is now an agenda item, I'll open it up to public comments for this agenda item only. If there's anybody who wishes to speak on just the youth panel agenda item.
Hi, sorry, Judy Saunders. And I'm not reneging on my next comment, but this sounds like a wonderful thing. And, you know, Shirley's endorsing it. It sounds like it would be a nonpartisan way for our community to take care of our kids in a way that they need maybe when they're going off the tracks. And I like that. So just saying, as a resident, I think it's a good idea. Thanks.
We need these a minute ago. I would volunteer for that. I did it when I was a teenager through Upland, and it taught me a lot. And I would like to go on that committee.
Nicole Boyers. I'm in. I would volunteer for that, certainly.
Any other public comments on just the youth aid panel item?
I know a few people that have been on it and have been very successful in Brookhaven. People do put their hearts into it. So,
Okay.
ask out leaders.
So we've amended the agenda, we've had public comment, now we can go forward with the motion to
Correct.
approve the participation in the youth aid panel. I think that was originally, motion was made by Mr. Powers, seconded by Ms. Purcival. All those in favor of joining the youth aid panel?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved. And Chief, let us know, I mean, we've had 2 people that spoke up here tonight, but how else we need to advertise for that? you know,
I'll talk to you about putting it in the newsletter.
Okay.
all right, get it on the website.
Very good.
Anything else, Mr. Costigan, for police and public safety?
Not for police and public safety.
Okay, then let's move on and continue with you for recreation.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to thank everybody who participated in our survey. We got some really informative results. Most people seem to say that we need more events, so that's what we hope to bring as the Recreation Committee. We are planning our Easter events right now. So we're going to have our egg dyeing night on Friday, April 8th from 6 to 8 p.m. in the fire hall. So again, our egg dyeing night is going to be Friday, April 8th, 6 to 8 p.m. in the fire hall. And then we are going to have our egg hunt the same day actually as our e-recycling event, a little bit later in the afternoon, starting at 2 p.m. on Saturday, April 9th in the woodlot. So we have a busy weekend of events that weekend, so look forward to everyone coming out. And we're going to continue planning events for the summer and for the fall. So if you're interested in helping out, or if you're curious, feel free to come to our next meeting, April 6th. That's a Wednesday at 6 p.m. in the Borough Hall. So that'll be Wednesday, April 6th, 6 p.m. in the Borough Hall. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Costigan. And we look forward to the egg hunt since we haven't been able to do that for the last 2 years.
Can we let Public Works know, because there's a little bit of work that has to take place prior to the Easter egg hunt. Set up and things like that.
Okay.
See who's available.
Okay, moving on, ordinance report, Mr. Sidlow.
The previous borough secretary was the right-to-know officer, and that we haven't officially appointed our new borough secretary to that role. So, does this only require a motion?
We have a resolution.
Oh, we have a resolution. Oh, okay, I didn't see that.
Do you want me to read it, or how
Yeah.
does it normally work? Okay. What number is this, Mr. President?
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm not sure off the top of
All
my
right.
head. I'm sorry, I couldn't
That's fine.
find
We
it.
can
Yeah.
add the number later. So this is a resolution of Parkside Borough, of course, the County of Delaware, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, to appoint Timika Stamis, Borough Secretary, as Open Records Officer for Parkside Borough. Whereas pursuant to the requirements of the Pennsylvania Right to Know law, an agency shall designate an official or employee to act as the Open Records Officer. And whereas the official or employee designated by an agency as the Open Records Officer is responsible for processing records requests addressed to the borough under the Right to Know law. And whereas the Borough of Council of the Borough of Parkside wishes to appoint Timika Stamis, Borough Secretary, as the Open Records Officer for Parkside Borough. Now, therefore, the Borough Council of the Borough of Parkside hereby appoints Timika Stamis as Open Records Officer for Parkside Borough effective March 16th, 2022, resolved and adopted at its public meeting held on the 16th day of March, 2022.
So I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor of adopting resolution to appoint Ms. Stamis, the right to know officer?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved. Congratulations, I think. Anything else for ordinances, Mr. Sidlow?
Not at this time.
Okay, then let,
I have a question for Mr. Sidlow. Can we work together to review our permit fees in Parkside? Because I've been told by contractors that our fees are higher than other localities around us, and I don't see any reason why our taxpayers should pay more for those fees than Springfield Media.
Well, actually, it's not the homeowner that pays the fee is the contractor.
Ultimately, that's passed on to the homeowner who pays the
Always.
contractor.
We reviewed our fees 2 years ago, and the reason we put them where they were is because we have no income coming to the borough. As where Brookhaven, Aston, and everybody else around us does, this is how the borough generates money. So,
I don't believe that they should be a source of income. I believe that they're supposed to be there to keep our buildings safe, our houses safe, and taxes is the source of income. Maybe we just think differently on that, but perhaps we could look into it more and just compare.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right. Licenses and inspections, Mr. Sidlow.
Okay. So there were 12 building permits, 6 plumbing permits, no electrical permits, 2 use and occupancy, and 1 reinspection.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's hit the long list. Mr. Powers, starting with Public Works and Property.
thank you, Mr. President. I'll knock out all departments at one time,
Go
if
ahead.
you will. Public Works, all borough properties have been maintained for the month. There's a motion on the agenda, which I knew nothing about. I don't feel we need to entertain a motion to review street signs for no parking throughout the borough. It's something we do every springtime. Our roadmaster will do that accordingly. We can escalate any sign that is in bad shape with through a complaint before Ryan gets to it. So it's something we do every year, and I was not aware of a motion to do that. So
Is it possible to remove the old ones? Because there's
Yeah.
some where new ones have been put in, but
yeah,
the
so
old ones
we
are
just
left.
ordered signs, no parking from here to corner, no left turn. We do have do not enter signs left from last year, so there's a bunch of signs that need to be replaced, and we do look at it every springtime. Since I've been here, I think Nick has done the same thing. Ryan's been here for 20 years, so again, we will look into it, and if there's a sign that needs to be replaced beforehand, we will do it.
All right.
That's all I have for Public Works. Health Inspector report, I can report general progress. Fire Marshal report. As some people may not be aware, there's a gate in Park Valley that blocks through traffic. It's operated by a key fob system. Parkside, Aston Township, Brookhaven, and Middletown have access to that gate through a key fob. It has slowed down emergency services quite a bit. The gate is now locked in the up position, and they were going to install an Opticon system on the gate at their cost. An Opticon system is where you see a flashing bright white light on the street lights or on the traffic lights, and it changes the red light to green light. Same type of thing. It's a bright white strobe light that says a male here and a female here, they marry each other, the gate opens. So Park Valley has agreed to, homeowner association has agreed to install that, and the gate is locked in the open position for now. Emergency management. The borough emergency operation plans have been updated and completed and will be sent to the county. And still working on the county hazard mitigation plan, which is no fun. So I have a deadline to get that in by mid-April, which we will meet that deadline. Other than that, general progress.
I know those plans take a lot of time. Thank you for the hours that you've put in so far.
I've been on months on this so far.
Right. Any questions for Mr. Powers? Right. Moving on, Ms. Purcival, recycling MS4.
Thank you, Mr. President. February's trash totals was 70.22 tons. Recycling was 15.50 tons. In comparison from last February, we have tripled our tonnage, which is a good thing.
Our recycling
On
tonnage.
recycling.
Yeah.
On recycling. Our Delaware County solid waste reports have been completed and returned. I'd like to remind anyone who's volunteering for the April 9th recycling in Brookhaven, volunteers have to be there at 8:45 a.m. And that's all I have on that.
And Yeah, when I think the weekly recycling has definitely had a positive return.
Most
So
definitely.
I know that was something we did when we bid on the trash, and we said we wanted to come back and revisit, and I think so far it's had a nice positive effect. All right. Communications, Ms. Guy.
Thank you very much. I hope you all saw the newsletter and were able to read it. I would like to thank all of the members of the committee who helped make that happen, especially to Theo, who made it look beautiful and professional. Our next meeting is this month. It's the 22nd on Tuesday at 6:30. Next month it is on the 19th in April. And if you'd like to join us, please do. We welcome input from residents, whether you're on the committee or not. If you want to contribute something, let me know. We're always looking for volunteers. Also, we're looking at getting a .gov website, and we had originally submitted a letter requesting the website with your signature, but we've been told that we need the mayor's signature for that. I do have the letter here with me if Mayor Kim would be willing to sign that. Could you please explain, Theo, how that would be beneficial to us?
Up here, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's a .gov address, which is basically we're a government agency, so it'll remain on the government server. It just gives you a lot more protection. And if I remember correctly, I think we had an issue a few years ago where someone hacked the Borough website. So if I'm a hacker, if I see a .gov address, I'm gonna think twice before I try to attack it. So it just gives you a lot of added benefits for having it. And plus the program that we found is currently free right now. So it typically costs around between $500 and $800. $800 to register, but right now in the program they got going, you can get it for absolutely free. So now would be a real good time to switch over.
Any questions for?
Do they have email servers?
Yeah, the email server, well, it's up to us and what we want to, what server we use for the email. So we can continue using the one that you have now. Obviously, your email addresses will change. It'll just be a .gov, but, or we can, it's just like registering any new website. So you just get to decide what servers you want to use. But,
Fantastic.
Yeah, I heard you guys are not a fan of your current email service, so yeah, that's something we can definitely look into switching over as well.
You're saying that it's not costing anything now. Will it cost money in the future?
No, once you get it,
okay.
yeah, you just gotta renew it every year with the government, and once you get it, it's free. So this is a great time to jump on it.
You said they. Who is they that it's with? Who are registered?
The federal government. Yeah, it just requires, we just got to verify that we're the borough, and then they'll give it to us absolutely for free. And then every year, you just have to update your contacts, and you have to re-register a domain every year. So with them, as long as you notify them that you want to continue on using the domain, you just notify them every year, they'll register for it, and it costs us nothing.
When you say federal government, I'm at a loss as to how this is going to work if it's not a registered and paid for site.
Well, no, the domain will be paid for by the federal government. They're offering it to each township or borough or municipality free. So they'll handle all the costs. Typically, it will cost you, like I said, up to $800 just to get it. And then you pay your $12, $15, whatever. Well, that was probably like $30, $50 a year to renew it. With them, because they will maintain it as stays on their server, they handle all the costs. You just got to verify that you are a municipality.
Again, who is they?
The government, the federal government.
Federal United States government?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Theo.
Yep, no problem.
So Kim,
Thank you.
Mayor Kim, I do have the letter, if you're willing to sign it at the meeting, I'd be great.
Anything else for communications at this time?
Yeah, next one.
Oh, sorry.
Can I go back to who would be controlling and having the passwords for this new website?
I would assume it would be the communications committee.
That's why I'm asking, I don't know.
It would stay with council regardless of who is on council. It would stay and it would belong to the Borough of Parkside Council, not to any individual.
I'm sorry, I have another question, but I don't know that Mrs. Guy's report's finished.
No, she said, go ahead.
Yeah, general progress. Thank you.
I understand that we have a Twitter and Instagram account.
We do, yes, for sharing information.
And who is in control of that, and who has the ability to have the passwords and to reply to comments, put messages out there? And when was council, maybe I missed that, and I apologize if I did, when were we going to be informed of this account, these accounts? There's 2 of them.
You found out in the newsletter. I didn't realize that we needed to notify you. We're doing it on the communication committee. As for now, Theo has access to the account, and again, this is something that will belong to the council, to the communication committee, not to any individual, and will be passed to the next person. It won't belong to a person. It's, I guess I'm curious, who runs the Parkside Facebook page, not the group, but the page?
The name Parkside Borough on Facebook.
Right.
Yeah, who can type that?
I don't know. It's not me. But my question is, if we started as a council or as a municipal government, an Instagram and a secondary account, Twitter account, shouldn't we as council been informed that this was being created and who created it, who has the passwords?
Perhaps we should have informed you. I apologize.
Not just me, I mean all of council.
I apologize.
I mean, personally, I think if that's, the communications committee wants to find other ways to get more information out there, I don't have a problem with that. And if the communications committee work together to do that, then I don't have any problem with that.
I don't have a problem with that, and I think it's great to get as much information out there since we want transparency and unity communication. But the bottom line is we need to communicate among us. And if I have to look at our website as a source of research, I can go back into the minutes and into the ordinances and resolutions. And I spotted that we had a Twitter and Instagram account, and I'm thinking, you know, I apologize if I didn't hear that we have these 2 accounts and who controls them, who has the passwords. I did not know. And again, if I did not hear it, I apologize. That's why I'm bringing it up. And I also noticed that the link to the email blast is still on there. Is that going into a separate spreadsheet?
Yes, that's now, we worked, Theo and I worked with Steve and Stevie G, and he set up that form so that it goes into a file that we have access to.
Again, who is we has access to anybody who signed up after January, it goes into a new spreadsheet.
Right.
Who has access to those email addresses after January for this new spreadsheet?
Stevie G, Theo, me.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And that email list as well, as far as I'm concerned, belongs to the council, the borough, and regardless of who's sitting in these chairs, it will be passed on.
So you have a folder that can be forwarded to whomever takes over in the next terms with passwords and etc.
All that information will be shared, make it a smooth transition.
Super, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, we already had the tax collector's report. So moving on, Mr. Berto, engineer's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Road Program 2022, the borough should consider adoption of the 2022 County Aid Resolution for liquid fuels. If council is not ready to act on this tonight, we can move it to next month's meeting.
Resolution?
Was emailed out previously.
I have this resolution. I'm sorry, let me give it to you. I don't know if I was informed that we're not ready to move on it at this point to pay the remaining amount.
I believe that was in an email sent out twice by our engineer since the end of February. For Mr. President consideration.
Excuse me.
Just throw it out.
Excuse me.
Excuse me, Harry.
What's that?
Do you need some tissue?
No.
Okay. I'm not waiting to
Just-
hear
just-
That's what I said, just throw it down there.
Out of shape. I did students run Philly style, and I was not prepared for 3.5 miles tonight. Suggestions on holding off till next month since we don't have this in the agenda, or would you?
We held off last month, Mr. President.
Okay.
So what's the deadline?
Next month wouldn't be a problem, but depends how you'd like to act.
So, like anything, we can add it to the agenda if there's a majority vote of the council to add it to the agenda.
Is there a copy that we can see of what we're discussing? Is there only one copy?
I can go, I can make more copies if you need them. I can quickly just make a few more copies if you need it for council members.
I mean, Mr. President, if you just want to read the therefore be it resolved, it should be good to make some motions.
Yeah. Mr. Sidlow, since.
I was able to.
She's gonna make copies for you,
Okay.
everybody.
Okay. Listen. Since your resolutions, you want to read the, or Mr. Amuso?
Oh, did you not want?
No, you got it. Go
All
right
right.
ahead.
So this is a resolution authorizing an application to the Delaware County Council for an allocation of county liquid fuel tax funds in 2022 for the Municipal Roadways Street Improvement Program of 2022. Whereas the undersigned municipality, of course the Borough of Parkside, desires to take advantage of the act approved June 1st, 1949, which permits counties of the Commonwealth to appropriate and expend monies for the improvement and maintenance of state highways and state aid highways or public highways in any county of the Commonwealth. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the officials of Parkside Borough, Delaware County, Pennsylvania, in regular session assembled this 16th day of 2022, do hereby make application to the County Council of Delaware County for an allocation of the county liquid fuel tax funds in the amount of $2,430 to be used towards the 2022 Roadway Street Improvement Program. It is certified by the municipality and the officers who execute this application, the materials used and work done hereunder shall conform to the current Pennsylvania Department of Transportation specifications or specifications approved by the department, and that all work will be done within the legal right-of-way or with permission of the abutting property owners, adopted this 16th day of March 2022.
I'll make that motion.
Well, hang on.
We need to add it to the
Yeah,
agenda first.
I'm just waiting till.
Thank you.
Actually, I have one here.
Oh, you have one? Okay. One. Thank you. Thanks. You already had one?
Okay, but thank you.
Okay. Okay, so first, I'll entertain a motion to modify the agenda to include the resolution for the liquid fuels fund.
That motion.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of amending the agenda to include the motion for the liquid fuels funds? Aye. All those opposed?
Thank you. We'll work with the borough secretary to produce this amended agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have that. At this time, I'll open it to public comments for any comments on the liquid fuel tax fund. Seeing no public comments, we'll move on. Mr. Bull, you said you were going to make the motion for the res.
Make a motion for the liquid fuels segment, Delaware County.
As presented by the solicitor.
As presented by the solicitor. Thank you.
I'll second.
All those in favor of approving the liquid fuels resolution? Oh, sorry,
So
question.
this is for 1944. That's what we're getting from Delaware County versus we'll get an allocation also from the state.
Yes.
I'm sorry, what was the amount? The
$2,400.
Yeah, there's two different. The version that I read said 2430.
It's 19.
This one says 1944.
The other one was incorrect. The 1944 is the correct amount.
Okay.
So, okay, so that, okay.
So the second resolution is for $1,944, just to be clear, for the resolution.
The resolution itself is for $1,944.
Thank you.
So do I understand we get a portion from the county government and we get a portion from the state government? Or is this all that we're getting this year?
This is the county aid.
It's just county aid.
Just county.
Okay.
Any other questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Right, that one passes. Mr. Roto.
Thank you. DCNR grant, as mentioned last month, the borough is eligible for a small communities grant with the woodlot parking and potential rain garden in the scope of work. To clarify, the minimum required grant amount to be requested is $50,000. And as I said last month, anything above 30 would have to be matched. But with this new information, there's $20,000 mandatory above the 30. So if council would like to move forward with the grant application, there's a minimum of $20,000 match. So before we proceed with the application, I just wanted to see if council would still like to move forward with that application with that in mind.
And we voted to move forward last month.
With not to exceed 30,000, but the actual minimum to be requested is 50,000, with a $20,000 match. Previously, there was no match required, but the language in the grant application was a little unclear, and after the meeting, I went back and wanted to clarify that and sent that out to council the next day. I just wanted to make sure or see if, since there is a match, whether or not still want to move forward.
Are we against the hard deadline on this one?
Again, that application's due April 6th, so it's coming
Mr.
up
President,
quickly.
I would say we should not go forward with this because we don't have the $20,000 match budgeted.
We will still be moving forward with the TCDI grant, the other grant that does not have a match.
Correct.
And other than general progress, that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Since we already had the motion for the grant, I'll entertain a motion to rescind the application for the DCNR grant.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor of rescinding our application for the DCNR grant?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Oops, sorry.
Sorry, 1 second.
No problem.
My bad. Sorry, I'm flipping my tape. Sorry. My bad. Sorry. Old school tape, my bad. All right. Okay.
So, motion to rescind the DCNR grant passed. Anything else, Mr. Roto?
Nope, that'll be it. General
Okay,
progress. Thank
So, we received a grant for an open space study last year. How is that going to be implemented? Are you aware of it?
I'm not sure. I could look into that. I can answer to you tomorrow.
Okay, because I think that's supposed to be implemented in the 2022 year.
Any other questions for Mr. Roto at this time? Okay. Solicitors report, Mr. Amuso.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have much to report. I mean, I know we just appointed Ms. Stamis as the right to know officer tonight, but I think we've established now a good system for responding to right to know requests, and we've been doing that. And we've also established a good system in working with the borough secretary and the treasurer in dealing with delinquent fees and liens. And people are coming here to make payment, and we're being notified. And working with my office to lift liens where necessary or to impose liens where required. So those continue to go smoothly. That's all I have.
All right. Any questions for the solicitor at this time? At this time, we'll have our call to citizens. Again, if you come up, if you would state your name and address.
Andrew Slot. Last 2 meetings that I've come to this conclusion that I feel, in my eyes, that we are not doing a very good job managing the taxpayers' money. I am also very upset that I can't remember, maybe I could be wrong, of not having coverage by police. That seems like a very serious situation, especially since we do have elderly people, and you never know what can happen. As for anything else with money, as for asking for the 20,000 and for the full officer, and I argued the officer, if you remember right, about getting a full-time officer just for money, and we've already had taxes up once. Are we within budget? Is my question.
Yes.
Are we in with budget? We're running in the black, not the red, in all departments.
Well, it's government. We should run right in the gray. We shouldn't have a huge surplus, and we should certainly never incur debt. So we are not an Act 47 eligible community. We're not in distress. We're doing well with the money that the borough has entrusted us with.
But we are running over budget in the police department, are we not? Because I thought that was mentioned last month.
There are undulations where this month there could be 50% of the budget consumed, and then the next month, instead of being 60% or 62%, we would be at. So there are small undulations, but I don't think that we have anything that's going to put us in a bad situation. Everything's been budgeted for as far as that, and if we didn't have coverage, I hate to say it out loud, we'll probably have extra money. Not the best way to say that, but we didn't spend it that day. Overall, the borough is in strong financial standing. I think perhaps what took place is across the country, across the world, there are labor shortages, based on a whole lot of factors. Every industry, perhaps we have to relook at, and I don't know if this is an appropriate time, but some of the payment schedules. People are going to choose to not work if there's better opportunities out there for them in different places. For years, we were the perfect starting place, straight out of the police academy. We were the perfect little town for officers to get the training that they needed, and they did a fantastic job for us for as long as I've been here. I don't know where the academy candidates are going at this point in time, but maybe that's something we need to revisit, moving forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Minnie D. Domenico. Ms. Guy, I just have a simple question. On the when we would give our email to a committee, like I gave mine to Judy. She said she wouldn't go to anybody else. Is that, I just want to make sure my email doesn't go to anybody, but I did give it to you, Judy, because you needed it for
Right, so
the
if
committee.
you
But I
notice
can't do
the committee, the
anymore.
communication committee,
Yeah.
I send you copies of the minutes
Oh,
and
okay.
updates. That's the only thing that email's used for.
I just wanted to ask because somebody had said different, and I just figured I'm asking.
No, that's fine.
But I need to come off that committee because of personal reasons with my grandson.
I'll remove it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Nicole Boyers. I was discussing like law enforcement issues that we've been having across different cities and stuff, especially like how low Philadelphia is. They're like down like 1,100 officers, something crazy like that. And a lot of that's due to attitude, defunding the police, and then there's sign-on bonuses in other places as an incentive. One of the ideas that I had heard is, especially with part-time officers and they can't get benefits because they're only part-time, are we able to partner with other boroughs? So like one cop, Eddystone part-time, and then here part-time. And then I think either through the FOP or something, they can get their benefits, or there's some kind of a program. So I'm wondering if that had been considered with, I don't know, Upland or something that where we could kind of get the benefits for those part-time officers as like an incentive to get them to stay. That when they come, they're not traveling too far. Because do we have officers that, let's say, already work for another municipality as an officer?
We have currently one officer that works here part-time and works in another municipality part-time. But I'm not aware of anything that the FOP has in place where there would be benefits accruing because of working in two municipalities. I'm not aware of that.
Something like a partnership that you would do. And I mean, if you haven't heard of it, maybe I can ask the person I heard this from who's prior law enforcement, again, just as an incentive to help keep officers that once they're hired, they're not looking for the next big gig, you know. All right. Thank you.
Judy Saunders. Theo, don't hate me, it looks like I'm not wearing pants. I wanted to, we are on Chelton and we're right by Blossom. And there was a fence in a yard that has an in-ground pool. And it fell down. And with this gaping hole of an in-ground pool, and I don't know who fixed it, but well done. It was fixed like that, because I have a dog who thinks it can fly. So it gets off its lead, it's going for that great gaping hole and going to try and just jump in it like it's a pool. So I don't know if it was code enforcement, I don't know if it was public works, but guys, like I noticed it on my first walk, my second walk, it was fixed. So well done, guys.
Yeah, I was notified and.
Oh, that was Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah, like literally, I saw the caution tape one night, and then the very next day, that fence was back up like that. And considering it was a gaping hole, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Make it short and sweet. Here's Bob Loftus, Parkside. With the contractors who did the gas lines and all, it's got to be come back and level it out more, because the pressures on the patch job is sinking.
Really bad.
And the center off the road is cracking. So hopefully it'll be repaved this year. I know we tie on money, but I mean, we got money to do streets over and over and over, same location again. I mean, you know, I know my street ain't been done for over 15 years.
Is there a particular place for this patches, or are there multiple patches?
The
you're
whole
describing?
street of Garrison.
On Garrison?
Yes.
Mr. President, can I speak on that? Well, I was gonna say, they've done, as you leave the meeting tonight, you'll see them all along Elbon as well. Those are all the little square patches along Elbon. And if you want to take a look right outside in front of the borough, at that house, there's a patch that's definitely at least almost a half inch to an inch sunk below grade.
You allow me to speak?
Yes, please.
Parker, Joe Ferguson, our building inspector, Rob Powers, myself did have a meeting with Miller Brothers and an associate from Pico. They've been notified by email and personally that our ordinance says if you got multiple openings within 60 feet of each opening, that whole area's got to be done. So I contacted them again, at least I think 3 weeks ago, asking them when they're going to come back and do all this work. I haven't gotten a response, but I was told by the building inspector, Joe Ferguson, that the asphalt places will be open at the end of the month, so we should see something going on that.
Well, asphalt plants open now with the temperature change. I know, I give them that amount of time to do it, but temperature's rising, so they're making blacktop.
I guarantee you, and all the residents in Parkside, they will be done perfect, because I don't want to see that. I guarantee you.
I need the phone number of the contractor, because when they put my pipe, the gas line in, my ground's sinking down because they didn't fill it up high enough.
I can provide that for you.
Okay.
Senior.
And that's it. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else call the citizens? Seeing none, move on. Any unfinished business?
Mr. President, I just wanted to mention, as everybody knows, I was following the Pennsylvania fireworks law. And it just recently was in the Committee for Agriculture and Rural Planning Committee. And one of the options that was suggested was to, when they revised the fireworks law, is to give individual municipalities the right to opt out. Like back in the 90s when the UCC came in, there was an option to opt out of certain items. And that would be nice, because then individually we would work with the police department and create our own ordinance on this. But it's still going through committee. But I wanted to let council know that that's something, as everybody knows, I've been keeping tabs on.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Unfinished business? Okay, moving on. New business. The Mayor Rowan?
So I received a letter from Pendelco School District about the scholarship program. So I want to pass this on to you and see if we're interested in participating this year.
Yeah.
In the past, it was a match with Mr. Pisani to make it a much more nice scholarship.
Okay, so this is saying that they need a response by April 1st, 2022, as far as our interest and support for their scholarship. Mr. Bull, do you recall what we've done in the past? I know you said Mr. Pisani.
I believe it was 500, it was 250 from the borough and 250 from
Mr. Pisani.
Yep.
If we end up doing that, I'll put $100 to it.
What's council's pleasure as far as a scholarship for Pendelco students?
Is this the Parkside scholarship, or is this a scholarship fund that they're asking us to contribute to?
This goes to the resident of Parkside.
This is the Borough of Parkside.
We've done just, now was it, and I'm just for clarification, Parkside resident or
That's
Parkside
correct.
elementary student?
No, Parkside
Seniors.
Sun Valley seniors.
Parkside resident.
Seniors.
Okay.
Seniors.
Yes, seniors.
Seniors.
Yeah.
We've been very blessed. We've had many that were valedictorian, and things of that nature, so.
Really? Have we had any salutatorians?
Not that I know.
Jessica
No.
Chappelle. Jessica Chappelle, right?
I'm making fun of Mr. Costigan.
No, we don't know about him.
Oh.
Did you get the scholarship that year?
No.
All right.
That was held close to the chest for a few years, where we found out at the very end. So, but it is a worthy cause.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, I actually have something. I received a donation request from our Aston Public Library, so I would just like to give this to council that our public library system would like a donation, so I would like to give that to you.
Okay. Since this does not have a date requirement on it,
No.
I would suggest maybe holding off until the April meeting to consider the Aston donation.
Okay.
But since the Pendelco does require a response by April 1st, let's see if I can get this right this time. I'd like to entertain a motion to amend the.
Well, this is new business, right? So this
Yes.
would be-
Yes.
Well, but
New
it's
business.
you would I appreciate that, but again, this new Sunshine Act does require us to have things identified to the community before 24 hours. So we will have to add this under new business. So go ahead.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to amend the agenda for the approval of, for a motion to approve the participation in a scholarship for a Parkside resident who is a senior at Sun Valley.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor of amending the agenda to include this item? Aye. All those opposed?
All right, we'll work with the Borough Secretary to make sure this is provided on the amended agenda.
Is there
comment?
Are there any public comment with regard to the Sun Valley scholarship opportunity for a senior at at Pendelco? Okay.
I have a question. So how much are we gonna put towards the scholarship
Well-
as the borough?
That's the next question. We have done 250 in the past.
Do 250?
Do 250, and if we have people that are willing to contribute to match,
Well,
we can add to it.
I'll donate $100 to it this year.
So
I'm happy to do the same.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion for the borough's portion of the scholarship fund to be in the amount of $250 with any other additional funds.
In-kind donations.
In-kind
To
donations.
be added to.
I'll make that motion.
A second.
Second. All those in favor of the $250 plus in-kind donations?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay.
I do have a question, Mr. President. Last year, there was quite a hoopla made about the candidate was chosen or not chosen. The mayor just took it upon himself to make his own decision, never kept council in the loop until the decision was made. Who's going to make that decision this year? Will we make it as a council, or will we leave it up to the mayor? I just want to clarify up front.
Let's do it as a council, and historically, we've always done it as a council. There was 3 applications that were submitted, we voted on it. I think that's the direction we should move. You're right, COVID in that last situation was odd, and there was very little.
So council going to vote on it?
Pick the top 3.
So,
We simple yes or no.
so we all agree council will make the final decision by vote once we have the application Okay. Any other new business items?
Mr.
Motion to
President,
adjourn.
I actually technically would request an executive session with the police chief after the meeting. I don't know if that falls within the rules, but I think it's necessary.
Mr. Amuso?
I mean, if I may ask, what's the purpose for the executive session?
The police topics, public safety.
Public safety is always appropriate. Some amendments aren't so recent anymore for executive session, so that'd be fine.
Thank you.
Immediately after council?
Please, unless somebody needs 5 minutes to stretch their feet.
We'll need time to close the room as well. So.
However you choose to proceed.
So there will be an executive session. Shall we give a 5-10 minute break?
Well,
hold on. We have something on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I wanted to just bring up the junior council person position.
Sorry about that. Yes.
I know we've had that in the past, and if it's all right with council, I would like to take the lead on that, and if anybody wants to help me with that, I would appreciate it as well. But just to talk about the timeline for that, my thinking was it makes sense to do it with the school year, so that maybe they apply at the end of this school year, and then we consider over the summer, and then they start in September. I don't know if the council has any thoughts about that.
I believe we had a resolution several years back in which we did September to May, and it used to be just juniors or seniors, and we decreased that to anyone in the high school range of age from
I believe
September
it was
to
a
May.
2-year term.
2-year term.
There's the junior council person link on the State Association of Boroughs.
Yeah, I've looked at that. A lot of the councils, it seems they have two, sort of like a senior person and a junior person. I don't know if we would have the interest for that, but it's something to consider too, having like an older junior council person and a younger one for like a mentor, someone to look to, just to consider, something to consider.
If you want to take the lead on that, I encourage your leadership.
Yeah. Anybody else interested in helping Mr. Costigan with that?
And it has been
I want to check the
a
resolution.
council decision over
Resolution
time, so.
It was 2 years ago.
Okay. So the resolution, to the best of your knowledge, because I know.
We did a resolution, I want to say 2 to 3 years ago, outlining the whole program, and that way it's on the books already.
Okay. You'll just have to do a little research dive.
Yep, just check the resolution.
I also had something that I proposed to be on the agenda, but I don't see it on here, which was to accept the treasurer's recommendation to pay off the tax anticipation note. I had tried to get it on the agenda so that it would be public before 24 hours, but
I thought that was
it's
for
on.
last month. That was for last month.
Right, well, I was attempting to make a motion to pay it off now.
Tax anticipation.
My reasoning is that we have sufficient funds in our general fund, from the best of my knowledge and from the advice of the treasurer, and tax income is starting to come in now, and that money is not really necessary for us to use, and it's accruing interest, and we're paying that interest on taxpayer money. It's not much. It may end up being $1,000 or $1,500, the treasurer says, if we wait till July. But I just think it's prudent to pay that off now because it's really not necessary, and it's taxpayer money, and we need to really be cognizant of that. And even though it's, again, it may not be much, it's something, and the taxpayers deserve to make sure that we're stewarding their money responsibly. So I guess I would make a motion to add that to the agenda.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of modifying the agenda to include a motion to pay off the tax anticipation note?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
So
Can we do
roll call? Let's do a roll call.
Roll call vote
Okay.
for amending the agenda.
Okay, roll call vote. Kimberly Roman?
I'm not.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. Shirley Purcival?
No.
Michael Costigan?
Yes.
Scott Sidlow?
Yes.
Mr. Sweigart?
Yes.
Mr. Bull?
No.
Ms. Guy?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
No.
Okay. So we have approval to amend the agenda.
Correct. So we'll work with the Borough Secretary to make sure this motion to pay off the tax anticipation note appears on the amended agenda. Now we should take public comment.
Okay. Public comment at this time for just the issue of paying off the tax anticipation note.
Mr. Slowick again. Last month there was a motion made about that, and we voted it down for the simple reason that we didn't have the money. How much money are we going to save from what Michael says? If we pay it off now, you're talking about taxpayer money, as I argue.
That's why I voted no, because I want to hear it from the treasurer, sitting from this chair, saying that it should be paid now.
I did ask the treasurer that question, and this is an email from the treasurer responding to my question, saying that the interest would be $1,500 if we paid it off in July. It's a 3% interest.
Correct.
So half the year would be $1,500 for a $100,000 loan. So if we paid it off in March, it would be about half of that, so about $750 that we would save. Again, it's not much. But
Not much, well, maybe not.
No,
to you.
no, that's what I'm saying. It may not seem like much to us sitting here, but to the people paying taxes, that's something. And I believe that the council should be cognizant that it's taxpayers' money that we're dealing with. And again, the treasurer has recommended for several months in her reports and in the meetings that we pay it off. So I trust the treasurer's judgment on that.
I trust when we get our tax money in, then we can pay something. If you're at zero, you can't pay anything
Yes,
off.
and I believe the tax collector's report said we've already had over $100,000 received for taxes. So just from this past month.
So we've just gotten 100,000, we got to pay a $100,000 loan off. It's kind of playing it real close.
Well, we have a.
That's tight.
We have that may seem tight, but we have very
Seems
sufficient.
tight. I know numbers.
We have sufficient funds in our general fund, in our bank account.
What do we have in our general fund?
I don't know.
I believe it was a couple $100,000.
You're not sure because we don't have this person here.
That's my point.
We have,
Again,
according to our
that's the-
treasurer's report, $600,000 in the.
That was
general
in
fund.
January.
Yeah.
Michael, that was in January.
I know.
This is already March. We have to pay out,
Wait, we had 600,000 in January?
Mhm.
Okay.
In
and
excess
so
of that.
we didn't spend more than 600,000 since then.
No, but
so
the problem is, I mean, if you're saving $750, that equates to $1 per household.
And
if you have an inlet go down and collapse, you're looking at $30,000 right off the top. And that's 2 years ago figure. I don't know what an inlet would cost today to get repaired. But if we have that money in there and I said to the treasurer, as you know, we have $100,000 sitting there that's COVID money. So you have to discount that right off the bat. Our police department was 2 months ago, or in February, 1 month ago, 17% over budget.
Right.
The fuel is now at $4 and some cents a gallon. Do we not keep a reserve in there until June to see where we get halfway through the year? I think it's very foolish to pay it off to save $750, which equates to $1 per household that you're saving them.
Mr. Powers said we haven't even got through the salt amount of money we've paid yet, have we?
No, we have not paid that.
We paid that? How much was that?
We haven't paid that bill yet.
There you go. You just can't have money, you just can't throw money out the door.
I'm all for paying this off. I just want to hear it from this person sitting from this chair.
But she said it 2 meetings in a row and in an email.
But a month has changed. The whole economy's changed in a month. That's what Shirley's trying to
We
say.
did not, again, communication and transparency, I didn't get to see that email. Did you?
I didn't see it.
And the
you were,
vice president
Vice
was in charge of
President, you were
finance.
copied on the email because you had asked at the meeting, I wanted to ask these questions at the meeting, you asked that I email, so I did email you and the treasurer, and you were copied on that email.
Well,
And I have
think-
the email right here saying that you were.
And I personally think
Well,
all
there has been
council
disputes
should
over
be
the
copied on all
effectiveness of
emails
that.
so that we all know what's going on.
Correct.
Well, but the council can't deliberate over email and conduct business over email either. It was
No,
a
but
question
we
that I
can.
had, that I asked him.
I have access to that.
All right, here's the, I have the email.
I thank you for your public comment.
Very well.
Tom?
Mr. President?
Yes.
More point of order. This is essentially the department I chair. I've been at this for a few years. We have always escalated getting it paid off when it was a reasonable amount. We're getting roughly $200 a month to have access to $100,000. Financially, it stands to reason that it's acceptable. I understand the intentions of the new treasurer as far as, those intentions, but to escalate it past, these have been 3 conversations when it was not truly necessary. We've always tried to get that paid off in a timely fashion, but we're also borrowing money at 2.9% when last month they posted inflation at 7.9%. So we had a 5% gain on that money that was in our pockets and not somebody else's.
And the federal government just increased the interest rate,
And they're gonna do it 5 times.
and they're going to do it again.
So having a little bit of a surplus. I mean, I understand the intentions of the treasurer, and I understand the intentions of Councilman Costigan, but sometimes there are deeper factors at play.
Numbers.
Many did a minute ago. If we have that much money that you're saying, Michael, to pay off a loan, why aren't we using that for things in the borough that need to be done? We need more police officers. Doesn't make sense to me, and I'm not anybody big.
You're saying the $100,000.
If you have extra money that you want to pay this loan off with, why aren't we using it for the police officers, for anything else
Well,
that's needed on council?
From my perspective, it makes sense to pay off a loan before you do that,
So
because.
you don't want protection in the borough from the police officers that we're burning back?
So, if I could finish?
Go ahead.
Because we're paying 3% interest. So if we don't pay the loan off, we're paying that interest. So I think that it's prudent to pay off the loan and then do some of the things you're talking about, which I support. As I said in my public safety report, I think we should have coverage of the police, and I will do whatever I can to make sure that we do. I believe that our public should be safe.
But with
Absolutely.
inflation going up.
But this is still a loan that has to be paid. It has to be paid
Right.
at some point.
I understand that.
So we have extra money in our fund, and I think we should pay it now because we don't need to have this loan right now. And that's what the treasurer has said month after month.
Okay.
The treasurer's only been here for 2 months, 3 months. She has no background as to what we will experience in expenses. Even maybe if she recommends us 1 year down the road, then she's had a year under her belt to see where our expenses are.
But I mean, with all due respect to the treasurer, she has worked with other boroughs in the past
has
as
one.
well.
She
No,
has one.
This is the 3rd borough.
She has one current.
Public comment, please.
Hi, sorry, Judy Saunders. I have a question. The loan that we have out, it's with who?
Sharon Bank.
Sharon Bank? Okay, and we've operated with Sharon Bank for how long?
I think the last 3 years we got it through Sharon Bank, but we have had it, we have to solicit it to other banks. Some people.
Obviously, yeah,
And
because
sometimes
you're a
they don't know.
municipality.
And I'm not saying it's a business thing, but if you go through all this paperwork and all of a sudden we paid it off in 1 month, they might be like, historically, we you're not a good business partner, more or less. You know, they're loaning us the money on the anticipation.
And hoping to get interest on it, but we have an established history with them as a borough.
Right.
For decades, from as
I
long
would
as
think so,
I've
but
been here.
I don't know, as far as banks go, how much that matters.
Okay. So what we're doing right now is we're not, the argument is that we're not gonna pay off the loan, even though we could pay off the loan, because there might be an issue that comes along down the pike. Now, inflation aside, because inflation and interest rates seem to be getting confused a little bit here, inflation means if something comes along the pike that we have to pay for, we're gonna have to pay 7.3% more than we did last year. Am I correct on that? That's inflation. So the interest rate paying it off, we are saving ourselves money. The inflation rate is a hypothesis. If there is something that we need that is an emergency that we haven't already budgeted for, that we need to pay for with our liquid funds. Is that correct?
But we didn't budget for $5 an hour, or I'm sorry, $5 a gallon fuel, or the possibility of $6 a gallon fuel.
But we're still gonna owe $100,000 regardless of how much it costs,
The
regardless of how much
increase in fuel
gas
is
gas
not
costs
gonna
are.
change the loan amount.
But
I think we're confusing two things, and
Our
I feel a
taxes-
little awful because it feels like it's deliberate.
No, it's not deliberate. We actually get our, and I'll call it revenue as far as taxes in. They come in during either the, you know, the face period or, you know, the penalty period at the end and things like that. But it runs out.
Right, I understand
So
that.
we
I
end up
understand
with
it's
an
not a
extra
money
amount of
tree.
money.
I do have another question. We do have money that we did get from the government. We were gonna set it aside. We had talked about different things that the office, the chief wanted, that we were maybe gonna do, and we decided against that because there is a pipe in the middle of Edgemont Avenue that we got a strike notice for in the 80s that we were supposed to be maintaining and didn't, that's caving in right now. Are we still working on fixing that? Or is that money also surplus that we're sitting on just in case we need more gas?
Well, I didn't get a treasurer's report this month, so unfortunately that, you know, I can go off of the checks that I signed this month, I can go off of a few other things like that, but the most important document that I work off of, I did not receive.
The treasurer's report. Okay.
Mrs. Saunders, one of the things that people don't understand, when you're looking at a yearly budget, and excuse me, Mr. President, when you say we got $100,000 in on taxes, that sounds like an awful lot, because our budget, you and I, our budget at home is totally different.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Purcival, I'm just gonna cut you off. I've been to these meetings for 20 years. I completely understand that a municipal budget and how much I pay an annual bill are two different things.
Exactly.
I'm not acting like $100,000
No.
that you got in from taxes should now mean that we all go to a strip club. What I'm asking is that if we have the ability to pay off the loan and we're not doing it because maybe something might happen that we might need to pay for, seems odd to me when we could
That's
save
not where I was going.
$750.
$100,000 sounds like a lot. But when your bills are $80,000 for that month, that includes payroll and utilities and insurances, you know, we spend a large amount of money on insurances. So out of $100,000, you might only have $20,000 left that month.
Right, I've gone over our budget, so I'm not.
So my
up
thing
to
is,
speed
if
with
it's
you guys,
costing
but-
you and I $1 to pay this off, if it's saving
Right.
us $1, okay, and that's what it would equate to. $750 would be $1 per household.
Right.
Then isn't it better to wait until June when we know where we are financially to pay this off?
So
In 3
the
months.
idea is to table it until June?
That's exactly what I'm getting at.
Well,
I don't
that's-
think we've ever waited until June to pay it off. So
We were
the
for-
argument's
we've been fortunate.
slightly moot as far as that, the
So
possibility.
we normally advance in paying off these loans,
Yes.
except for this year because we might have an emergency and there's inflation.
No, I think you're taking it out of context. This
Let
is
me-
only
let me
March.
just say, in the past years, when have we typically paid it off, roughly?
Earlier on, I don't have the exact
Yeah,
number, but I
but-
mean, it's April, May, it's usually settled.
We
It
usually go
goes
into the second quarter and pay it off.
right about the
June,
time where
July.
we go to face on the income, or on the tax note. So it's not during the discount period. It's typically during the phase period of tax, revenue coming in. So it's never gone that late. This is a little bit of a premature argument. I may have even voted for it if I had a report, but I will absolutely wait 1 month to have a legitimate report in front of me.
So that everybody's on the same page and up to speed, tabling it would be a good idea?
That's up to
Absolutely.
whoever
But
made the motion.
I'm the steward of the residents' money. I'm not here to waste it.
Okay.
I have a house in Parkside too. I'm not here to waste money for anybody.
All right, thank you guys.
Okay, so Mr. Costigan?
I think
You made the motion to pay off the tax anticipation.
Yes. The tax
note.
anticipation note.
Yes. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of paying off the actually, let's just say something. Can you do a roll call vote, please?
Sure.
This is to pay off the tax anticipation note.
To pay off the bill. Shirley Purcival?
No.
Michael Costigan?
Yes.
Scott Sidlow?
Yes.
Mr. Sweigart?
No.
Mr. Gould?
No.
Ms. Guy?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
No.
So we'll hang on to the tax anticipation note at least until next month, and we'll see where we're at there.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Any other new business?
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded. Okay. Council will take a 10-minute break, or let's go 9 minutes. Let's reconvene at 8:50 for an executive session.